I'm going to make some candied pecans. Depending on where you're from, you may say pecans or pecans, but either way, they're delicious, and so I'm going to candy some tonight. My girlfriend's father sent her for her birthday about a gallon's worth of pecans, so I'm going to do a really simple recipe. First, all it starts with is kind of heat your pan to medium. Throw in about half a stick of butter. So you got your butter here, and I'm using Fireball whiskey. I think it adds a good bit of flavor in it. It also helps kind of evaporate a lot of the extra liquid that you're going to be left with. So I've got a good bit of Fireball down in there. You want to keep that out because you're probably going to end up adding more. But right now you just kind of, I'm going to turn the heat up a little bit and get that butter melting a little quicker. But you want to melt the butter and kind of mix it in with that Fireball whiskey. You can see it's starting to kind of move around. I like to cook a lot with wooden utensils. I know there's a lot of people who frown upon that, but this isn't quite soft enough yet. Kind of swirl this around. So I'm going to just let that melt for just a minute. Okay, so you can see that the butter is melting down nicely. I've got it chopped up now, and you'll see kind of mixing in, getting nice. Ooh, that piece is pretty much melted. Yeah, kind of like little ice cubes melting, little butter cubes. So I've got that mixed in. Now at this point, you're going to want to add your brown sugar. I like the darker brown sugar. You'll see this is kind of bubbling up a little bit. Brown sugar added, and I'm just kind of stirring that up in here. Turn the heat down a little bit because it was bubbling up a little quicker than I would have liked it. You'll see it's nice dark consistency. You can also kind of smell that alcohol because that's gonna just kind of evaporate out. You want to make sure you get out all the chunks. Yeah, that's exactly how you want it to look. In fact, I may even add a little more butter. Just kind of get a little more smoothness. But you want to stir it nice and good so that nothing burns and sticks to the bottom. But at this point, you kind of have everything ready, and you want to add your pecans in. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And you can see it looks nice and brown, and all the brown sugar is melted in there, and all the butter's melted, and just kind of have a nice liquid. Okay, so you see I've got, pretty much that entire bag of pecans in here. Now you may have noticed I've got this tray of aluminum foil here, just kind of a little bit of aluminum foil. You're going to want that ready because this just kind of gives it a nice little coating. You just want to let that kind of coat all of those pecans. You want to make sure nobody gets left out on it. And I've got it on about a medium heat, nothing too hot, but enough that it'll get a little bit bubbly and kind of evaporate out that liquid. But I've got this kind of coated and going, so I'm gonna just kind of let that sit for a little bit and evaporate out, stirring it intermittently so that nothing burns. Okay, so you may see it's really bubbling up and getting to where it's going to evaporate and thicken up. And that's good. You just want to keep kind of stirring it a little bit, but for the most part, just let it do its thing and thicken up and evaporate, and just make sure that nothing's burning on the bottom. I added a little more brown sugar, and that kind of helped it a little bit. Now, to kind of talk about some variations of what you can do with this, kind of, say you don't really like cinnamon so much, you're more of a fan of some other flavors, what you can do is, instead of using the Fireball, is you can use just like regular bourbon and or any other spirit that you prefer. You might actually like a rum. Rum might be good flavor to put in there. Maybe some spice rum or some black rum. That be a good flavor combination with this. But you can take and put some rum in there, and to give it a little bit different dimension, what you can do is just add in a little bit of cocoa powder, and that'll give it an extra flavor. It won't be just pure sugar. Add some real dimension to it. But you can see it's just kind of bubbling, and just gotta let it do its thing until it thickens up.